pork consumption is being promoted, and he's selling his without paying into the promotion program, it just looks to me like they're getting a free ride on this thing, and I'm going to oppose him.
Well, he has to actually pay the other program. He can't just exempt out and be free ride. I guess that's
what your program says. He's out.
But he's already out right now. Here, if I may, Mr. Chairman, just if you'll yield a minute. But the point is, right now, organic's out altogether. This at least gets him into.
Then why do you need the exemption?
To conform, as I said, with USDA. The goal here is to give USDA and organic agriculture.
Well, how do they get out if there's not an exemption
every other
already?
commodity has, which is to make that choice. Again, I think it's American to give free choice.
I got the free choice piece, but how do you? I don't like the free ride piece. Why do you need subsection E, if all you want to do, if all you're wanting to do with this amendment is set up the opportunity for an organic promotion order and assessments there? Why do you need?
That's just a transition from where we are now to make it conform with USDA
Why do
law.
you need the new exemption?
I don't think it's all that bloody complicated. We're just trying to conform to the USDA right now to get to where, hopefully, you and I would agree. We need to give them a choice.
And so, in the meantime, they get a free ride. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Seeing no additional requests. Gentleman moves to strike the last word at peril to his own health from his colleague. You're recognized for 5 minutes, Bob.
I was going to thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wasn't going to say anything, but you know, this is the commodity checkoff programs. Commodities, pork, beef, milk, you know, apples, whatever they are, soybeans, corn, and you know, we already talked about this as being a process. Organic's a process, and I would make it more analogous as a brand. You know, commodity checkoffs can't promote brands. That's what the trade associations do. That's what the individual, you know, businesses do. And I think we just got to remember that this is a commodity checkoff program. The whole structure of all the checkoffs, and this is moving away from that and more towards a branding. And that's why I can't support this amendment, even though it's a tough decision because you're getting into the process, but we got to remember it's commodity checkoffs. Thank you.
Gentleman, the gentleman makes a good point. You know, several years ago, this Congress made a very political decision to allow for the branding of poultry as organic poultry, even though it was fed non-organic feed, done as a political favor to get the votes of certain members influenced by people in the poultry industry that wanted to label their product organic but found organic feed to be too expensive to do so. So you have a wide array of different meanings of what organic is, and to have a promotion based on simply saying it's organic, that not only is the gentleman from Oregon right that organic means different things to different people, it also means different things to different commodities. And so to get away from checkoffs for commodities and go to something like this, I think carries with it a considerable amount of peril and inaccuracy in terms of what consumers are actually getting when they get this promotion that says you're getting organic. So I think the gentleman makes a good point, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman yields back. Seeing no other requests for time, we shall proceed to vote on amendment number 76. All of those in favor of the amendment by the gentleman from Oregon, number 76, signify so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify so by saying nay. No. The chair, who is deaf in one ear, is going to rule the noes have it. The chair will recognize the gentleman from Oregon. The gentleman asked for recorded vote. Recorded vote is ordered. The clerk will call the roll on amendment number 76.
Mr. Goodlatte. No. Mr. Goodlatte, no. Mr. King. No. Mr. King, no. Mr. Nagelbauer. No. Mr. Nagelbauer, no. Mr. Rogers. No. Mr. Rogers, no. Mr. Conaway. Mr. Conaway, no. Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, no. Mr. Gibbs. Mr. Gibbs, no. Mr. Austin Scott. Mr. Austin Scott, no. Mr. Tipton. Mr. Tipton, yes. Mr. Crawford. Mr. Crawford, yes. Mrs. Roby. Mrs. Roby, no. Mr. Desjardins. Mr. Desjardins, no. Mr. Gibson. Mr. Gibson, yes. Mrs. Hartzler. Mrs. Hartzler, yes. Mr. Ribble. Mr. Ribble, yes. Mrs. Nome? Mrs. Nome, no. Mr. Benishek? Mr. Benishek, no. Mr. Denham? Mr. Denham, aye. Mr. Fincher? Mr. Fincher, no. Mr. LaMalfa? Mr. LaMalfa, no. Mr. Hudson? Mr. Hudson, aye. Mr. Davis? Mr. Davis, aye. Mr. Collins? Mr. Collins, no. Mr. Yoho? Mr. Yoho, no. Mr. Peterson? Mr. Peterson, aye. Mr. McIntyre? Mr. David Scott? Mr. David Scott, aye. Mr. Costa? Mr. Costa, aye. Mr. Walls? Mr. Walls, aye. Mr. Schrader? Mr. Schrader, aye. Ms. Fudge? Ms. Fudge, aye. Mr. McGovern? Mr. McGovern, aye. Ms. Delbene? Ms. Delbene, aye. Mrs. Negrete McLeod? Mrs. Negrete McLeod, aye. Mr. Vella? Mr. Vella, aye. Ms. Lujan Grisham?
Yes.
Ms. Lujan Grisham, yes. Ms. Custer?
Yes.
Ms. Custer, yes. Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan, yes. Mr. Gallego?
Aye.
Mr. Gallego, aye. Mr. Inyard?
Yes.
Mr. Inyard, yes. Mr. Vargas?
Yes.
Mr. Vargas, yes. Ms. Bustos?
Yes.
Ms. Bustos, yes. Mr. Maloney?
Yes.
Mr. Maloney, yes. Mr. Courtney?
Yes.
Mr. Courtney, yes. Mr. Garamendi?
Yes.
Mr. Garamendi, yes. Mr. McIntyre?
Yes.
Mr. McIntyre, yes. Mr. Chairman?
No.
Mr. Chairman, no.
Anyone else seek to be recorded? Seeing no additional requests for recording, the clerk may report the results when they're ready.
The vote is 29 yeas to 17 nays. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Amendment number 76 is adopted. Are there additional amendments to